was working on a movie when I heard I had a dream that I had a brain tumor, and it was like no other dream that I'd ever had. And so I had become friendly with the set doctor on that movie, who was on the board of the local hospital. And I went to her that morning, and I said, "Listen, I had a really scary dream last night, and you'll probably think I'm crazy, but I think I have a brain tumor, and I'd really like to get it checked out." And she said, "You are crazy, but you shouldn't have to live with that fear. So I'll order you an MRI tomorrow, or a CAT scan tomorrow." I went to the hospital with her, and I went by myself. I was going to meet her later with the neurologist. And I got my CAT scan and met her in the neurologist's office an hour later, and the neurologist nurse came in and asked her out of the room, and I could hear some murmurings in the room next door. And she came in, and she was white as a sheet, and she sat down and she said, you have a mass behind your left ear the size of a golf ball, and we don't know what it is exactly, and you'll need an MRI." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not a great time to say I knew it, but." I didn't really have any tinnitus or tinnitus. I didn't have any really displayed symptoms. After I'd found out what it was and got my hearing checked, I had lost 7% of my hearing, but they thought, it's a very slow-growing tumor, so it was undiscernible to me over that time. I didn't feel like I couldn't hear out of that ear any worse than I could in my other ear. And it was on my facial nerve, and it was on my, then I went and got an MRI and met with the neurologist. And they said, "Well, the good news is it's not malignant, we don't think. We think it's an acoustic neuroma, which is the best of the worst. And, we think it's operable. We think you should do it quickly because it's on your facial nerve. And you have a 80% chance of losing your hearing in your left ear and a 20% chance of losing your facial nerve. But we suggest you hurry up." My surgery came probably from the time of finding out to the actual surgery was about 4 weeks. And my wife was about to deliver our first child. And so I didn't want to ruin that for her by breaking her the bad news that her husband had a brain tumor. So I waited to tell her till after the baby was born, which is about 3 weeks after I found out, and a week after he was born. It was scary, obviously, and I also had an odd bit of shame about it or fear about it and how it would be perceived, especially in my profession. And so I didn't really tell anybody. I told my best friend, and he was the first person I told. And I told my manager at the time a few days later. And those were the only people I really told till I was about to get my surgery. And then I told my family. My dad I told soon too. And then one other guy. And but I really kept it under wraps because it was already a lot to deal with, and people sometimes tend to make your tragedy their tragedy. And I didn't have the energy to deal with that, and what it meant to other people was so profound and so scary to them. I just didn't want to visit that on them until it was time to do it. So I carried it pretty much, quietly for a while. Well, my greatest fear, honestly, was that I was going to die. I didn't know whether it was benign or malignant when I found out about it. And my dream was so startling that, and it was so, the impression from the dream was that it had to be dealt with immediately. And because of that, I had an added sense of anxiety. And I just had this fear of dying on the operating table. And that was kind of based in what I had read about the anesthesia and how some people react to it. And I'd had surgery in the past and had a really bad reaction to the anesthesia. Anyway, so I was honestly afraid of dying, was my biggest fear. As soon as I found out about it, I went on the internet. Thank God we have the internet. And but there wasn't a lot of material up on it at that time. At this time, this was 12 years ago, so acoustic neuromas at that time weren't quite as popular as they are today. I think they've probably tripled since I got mine. And there wasn't a lot of information. There was the ANA, and I honestly was afraid to really reach out. I talked to somebody briefly, and it wasn't very it wasn't very how shall I say it, comforting. And what I was facing with my paralysis. Well, when I woke up, I was so sick, and I was not dead, which was good, but I was so sick I almost wished I was. I mean, I was so sick from the anesthesia. And I felt, they told me the surgery went off well. And my father told me that my heart had stopped briefly on the operating table, and so that was scary to me. And they told me that the surgery went well. They got all the tumor. They preserved my nerve, but I just heard a ringing in my left ear. And I sort of, before I went into surgery, I remember I was, when these things happen, you sort of remember your religion a little bit. And I was praying and sort of bargaining with God. I was like, hey man, please, don't take my face and don't take my life, because without my face I can't really support my family, and without my life I definitely can't support my family, but you can take my hearing, and be careful what bargains you made, because those sometimes are the ones that are stuck to. And so I woke up and realized I'd lost my hearing, and the first day, I was just out of it. And then the second day, they came in, they were checking my face, and my face began to go paralyzed. So by the third day out, fourth day out from the surgery, I couldn't close my eye, and I couldn't move my face, my left side of my face, and that was pretty alarming. It was alarming to me, and I think it was confounding to my doctor. He really didn't know what was happening. Thought it was swelling, but. I had a lot of weird complications, I think, ongoing complications because of that made my recovery a lot different than other people's. But the things I did do to support myself, and I think this is really important for people, is to find, there should be a post-op kind of protocol. And I don't know if ANA has that now. They didn't then. And I did a lot of walking, I had the one other time that I feel like I've had any divine intervention in my life other than that dream was another voice saying, keep moving. And that just became my mantra, just keep moving, keep trying to move my face. So every day I'd get up in the morning and I'd try to make those muscles move, and I'd focus on them. And I'd spend an hour doing that every morning to no avail. And I'd walk, and I'd walk, and I'd walk miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. And those two things, I think, started to help me with my balance. My balance came back a lot quicker than a lot of people's. And I think also getting some of these toxins out of my body. I did acupuncture, I did myofascia, I did sacrocranial therapy, I did herbal therapy, I did massage, I did every alternative thing that I could find to make me feel like I was in power after my post-op. And I think it's really important to find some sort of group or support team after the surgery that is more focused on you getting to be wholesome again than it is just getting that tumor out of your head. I was looking at the end of my acting career, and I kept a diary. I kept a video diary, and that became a way for me to deal with my fears, and then to also see any progression in my recovery, and to mark my progression, to give me a sense of of actual becoming normal again, or my idea of normal. And my relationship with my wife deepened enormously at that time. And so my emotional recovery also became understanding what I was made of as a man. And when you're faced with a difficulty like that, you draw upon parts of yourself that you didn't really understand it existed. And so the tumor in an odd way started to become this a blessing in disguise as time went on, and as time has progressed over the years as well. Under the circumstances, it was pretty amazing. We were newlyweds. We had a newborn colicky baby. We had decided we'd go upstate. I couldn't be in the city. It was too intense for me, and especially on the steroids, because they open up your adrenal glands, so you're living predominantly in a kind of fight or flight reaction to the world. And so the city was overwhelming. The noise, the intensity, the energy. I was very acutely aware of it. And so we had a place in upstate New York, and I just said, it was literally 2 days before 9/11, let's go upstate and let's recover up there. But we didn't really know anybody there, and didn't have a support group there. And then 9/11 happened, and we couldn't get back into the city. Our house was down here, and so down in the area that was shut off. And so we spent the next basically four months up there recovering, and it was just the two of us, and it was hard, and the steroids didn't help. They made it really difficult, and I wasn't getting any better, and she was an absolute saint, but it definitely tested every aspect of our relationship and our friendship, and the future, our ideas for the future. It put everything to the test in a really really heavy way for so early a marriage. It was about a year for me. There was a time after I started to come off the steroids, shortly after I started to taper off the steroids, which was about 10 months. At the 10-month mark, my face started to come back, which was itself kind of unheard of, because after about 7 months, if your face stays paralyzed, they sort of think the nerve is dead, you know. I think in great part because of the acupuncture. It was after an acupuncture session, and I was going probably 3 or 4 times a week at that time. After an acupuncture section, I had the first movement in my eye, and it was just literally that. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, the car mirror, as I did after every acupuncture, and I was just willing it to move, and it just moved a tiny bit. It was just a little glint of a move. The neural pathways kind of got mixed, and so, or what I had thought was going like this was actually going like this, and I had to, a lot of things got switched around, and so I had to kind of relearn to use that side of my face. But you know, here I am. I'm still acting, and a year after that, I got a great job, and you know, I've been really lucky. Most of it's come back. I mean, yeah, it'll never be back 100%, but and I really was afraid of that, and I was afraid to tell people that. But you know, I've integrated it all into my life, and here I am, way better than I was then. I think I learned a lot about life and mortality and fallibility, and so, you know, on a spiritual, emotional level, I just think I'm a much bigger person than I was before that. And you know, to overcome adversity is a great thing for a man or woman, and understanding, you know, my strengths and my weaknesses, and my ability to, you know, to not give up or persevere, have all fed into my confidence and my willingness to be more fearless in the way I live my life, and more empathetic to people. And yeah, after that, I became much more grateful for what I had, and I hope I haven't lost any of that as time has gone on. I'd say be patient. You know, we live in a very fast time, and we expect things very quickly, and we're trained to do that. And you know, we don't want to wait for anything. And I didn't want to wait for my recovery, and I didn't want to wait for what my body needed to go through in order to recover and to feel normal again. I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to get back to my life. I wanted to be the person I was before. I would get frustrated and angry at myself for not. So I would say to myself, Mark, be patient. These things have a gift in them somewhere, and just be patient and accept the journey that you've been asked to take, whether you want to take it or not, and take it with some grace and dignity, and know that you're gonna, you know, you're on this road alone ultimately. Yes, there'll be people around you to help and so on and so forth, but ultimately this is a journey into you, and in the end, you will be better for it. Sleeping on my good ear. It is amazing. I could sleep through anything. I've had 2 other kids since then, and I could sleep through babies screaming right next to me. I could sleep through anything, and that's probably the greatest gift of a single-sided hearing, and it cannot be overlooked nor given too much credit. Seriously. We're survivors.